बहुत दिनों के बाद आप लोगों से मुलाकात हो रही है और एक नई टेक्नोलॉजी से अब हम लोगों को पढ़ना है। अभी कुछ दिन तक जब तक ये कोविड लॉकडाउन कंटिन्यूड है और हालात अभी बिगड़े हुए हैं, तो सबसे पहले हम जो डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं आज, वो हमारा टॉपिक है इन्फेंटिसाइड। इन्फेंटिसाइड में सबसे पहले दो बातें हमें क्लियर करना ज़रूरी है। पहली बात है कि हु इज़ ए इन्फेंट एंड व्हाट इज़ इन्फेंटिसाइड। इन्फेंट अलग अलग लोगों के द्वारा अलग अलग तरीके से डिफ़ाइन किया जाता है। एक आम आदमी के नज़र में दादा, पापा, मम्मी, ग्रैंडफादर, इनकी नज़र में एक बच्चा भले ही वो 70 साल 80 साल का हो जाए, वो ग्रैंडफादर की नज़र में हमेशा इन्फेंट रहता है। ये तो हुई एक कॉमन आदमी की परिभाषा इन्फेंट के बारे में। अब बात अगर हम करें डॉक्टर्स के द्वारा इन्फेंट किसे माना गया है, तो डॉक्टर्स ने इन्फेंट माना है एक न्यूली बॉर्न बेबी अप टू द एज ऑफ 12 मंथ, यानी 1 साल तक के न्यूली बॉर्न बेबी को डॉक्टर के द्वारा, पीडियाट्रिशियंस के द्वारा इन्फेंट कहा जाता है। तो ये तो समाज के द्वारा सोच और एक डॉक्टर की सोच है। लेकिन अब हम अगर कानून की नज़र में सोचें, लीगल एंगल से सोचें, तो कानून ने इन्फेंट को डिफ़ाइन ही नहीं किया है। कानून की नज़र में कोई भी शिशु यदि एज ऑफ वाइबिलिटी के बाद किसी के द्वारा ख़त्म कर दिया जाता है तो वो इन्फेंटिसाइड कहलाता है। यानी कानून की नज़र में हर वो शिशु जिसने एज ऑफ वाइबिलिटी अटेंड कर ली है, वो इंडिपेंडेंट सर्वाइव करने की स्थिति में है और वो एक लिविंग क्रिएचर है। इसलिए कानून ने इन्फेंट को डिफ़ाइन नहीं किया। कानून ने सिर्फ ये बोला है कि एज ऑफ वाइबिलिटी के बाद ख़त्म करना एक कानूनन अपराध है। अब हम दूसरे एस्पेक्ट को डिफ़ाइन करते हैं, व्हाट इज़ इन्फेंटिसाइड। इन्फेंटिसाइड जो हम लोग डॉक्टर्स लोग मानते हैं कि किलिंग ऑफ ए न्यूली बॉर्न बेबी अप टू द एज ऑफ 12 मंथ, इट इज़ इन्फेंटिसाइड। क्योंकि हम लोगों ने 12 महीने तक के एक बच्चे को इन्फेंट माना है, इसलिए ये हम लोगों के द्वारा दी गई डेफिनेशन है कि किलिंग ऑफ ए बेबी अप टू द एज ऑफ 12 मंथ्स इज कॉल्ड एज द इन्फेंटिसाइड। अब मैं आप लोगों को 1 मिनट का समय दे रहा हूँ, और ये समय इसलिए दे रहा हूँ कि जो लोग मेरे बातों को नोट डाउन करना चाहें वो कॉपी पेन उठा लें। 1 मिनट के बाद में हम पुनः कंटिन्यू करेंगे। Whenever any infant dead body comes for the autopsy, we have to examine the body from 4 answerable angles. जब कभी भी एक डेड बॉडी इन्फेंट की एक डॉक्टर के पास पोस्टमार्टम के लिए आती है, तब एग्जामिनेशन हमें इस तरीके से करना है कि हम कोर्ट में कुछ बातों का जवाब स्पष्ट तरीके से दे सकें, ताकि हर चीज़ इस केस के बारे में स्पष्ट कोर्ट के सामने मौजूद रहे। पहली चीज़ जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट हो जाती है वो है एज ऑफ द इन्फेंट। वेदर द एज ऑफ द इन्फेंट इज़ ऑफ वाइबिलिटी और इट इज़ ऑफ नॉन वाइबिलिटी। नंबर 2, द बेबी वॉज बॉर्न अलाइव, or it was a stillborn birth, or it is a dead-born birth. Third question is, if the baby was born alive, how long the baby has survived? Because this will help in the reconstruction of the case. It will help in the circumstantial evidence. And the fourth is, what is the cause of death of the baby. So these are the points which we have to answer whenever we are making any examination. We are discussing now in detail how to assess the age of a newly born infant. There are various methods to assess the age of a newly born infant. One is the ossification center. Second is the length of the baby. And third is the external and internal morphological changes in the body. But the most feasible and reliable method out of all these three is the length of the baby, and it is very simple also. So we are going in detail about the length. Say for example, if the length of the baby is 1 multiplied by 1 is equal to 1 centimeter. If the length is 1 centimeter, the age of the baby is 1 month. 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4 centimeter, means the length is 4 centimeter, the age is 2 months. 3 multiplied by 3, 9 centimeter. If the length of the baby is 9 centimeter, the age of the baby is 3 months. So likewise, 4 multiplied by 4, the length is 16 centimeter of the baby, the age of the baby is 4 months. 5 multiplied by 5, 25 centimeter. If the length of the baby is 25 centimeter, the age of the baby is 5 months. 6 multiplied by 5, 30 centimeter. The age is 6 months. 7 multiplied by 5, the length is 35 centimeter, the age is 7 months. 8 multiplied by 5, 40 centimeter, the age of the baby is 8 months. 9 multiplied by 5, 45 to 50 centimeter, the baby is of 9 months. So this is the method by which you can estimate the age of the baby. Now, ossification center is, suppose the body is mutilated, you cannot measure the whole length of the body, then the ossification center, they are very useful. Ossification center, now we have to discuss about the utility of ossification center in the bones to assess the age of the fetus. The bones which we have to choose for this purpose are: number 1, cuboid bone; number 2, calcaneum bone; and number 3, the talus bone. All these bones are present in the heel region, and then you have to choose the sternum, and then the upper end of the tibia and the lower end of the fibula. So these are the bones of our choice for this purpose. I am going to show you the technology how to cut the heel to see all the 3 bones of the heel. You have to take a knife in the mid of the heel region and then cut all these 3 bones like that. So you will have a transverse section of all these 3 bones in one single cut. Ossification center first appear in the calcaneum bone in the 5th month of the intrauterine life, and then 2 months after that in the 7th month of intrauterine life in the talus bone, and in the 9 months of intrauterine life in the cuboid bone. They appears in that fashion. And now I am going to show you, when you are taking the section of all these 3, how they looks like. They looks like a red spot. So whenever you find a red spot in the bone, that is a ossification center in the bone. So this is the ossification center as a red spot in the talus bone. This is the ossification center in the calcaneum bone, and this red spot is in the cuboid bone. The second bone, you have to choose the sternum. Actually, sternum that we have seen in the adult is not as such in the fetal life. In the fetal life, the sternum is composed of 6 sternibries. The first sternibry forms the manubrium sterni, and the second, third, fourth and fifth sternibry, they forms the body of the sternum, and the last one, 6th sternibry, that forms the Jiffy sternum. So ossification center first appears in the first sternibry, that is going to form the manubrium sterni by the age of 5th month of intrauterine life. Then in the second sternibry, that is what we say is the first piece of the body of the sternum, in the 6th month of intrauterine life, and then in the 7th month of the intrauterine life, in the third sternibry, that is the second piece of the body of the sternum by the age of 7th month. Then in the 4th sternibry, that is the third piece of the body of the sternum by the age of 8th month of the intrauterine life. Then the 4th piece of the body of the sternum, or you can say the 5th sternibry, this is forming in the 9th month of the intrauterine life. And lastly, by the age of 3 years, in the last 6th sternibry, ossification center appears. So Gifford ossification center is useless for this purpose in the case of infanticide, but all the upper 5 sternibry ossification center is very much useful from the 5th month to the 9th month of the intrauterine life. Then we are going to see how the transverse section shows the primary ossification center in the sternibry. So this is the cut section of the sternum showing the ossification center. In the 5 sternibry, they are seen, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. In the Jiffy sternum forming sternibry, 6th sternibry, it is not appear. So 5 red dots we are going to see. So that means the body of this belonging is of complete 9 months at least. Then you have to cut the lower section transversely of the femur bone, and if you find the ossification center, then the age is 9 months intrauterine life, and in the upper end of the tibia in the transverse section, this appears just at the time of birth. So whenever it is present in the upper end of the tibia, that means the fetus has completed its life 9 months. And now we will discuss the morphological changes gradually that occur in the fetus with the age. When fetus is of 1 month intrauterine life, the length of the fetus is 1 centimeter and no distinguished morphological features are developed. The face is not developed. Eyes, they are small black dot-like. Limbs do not develop, and the caudal portion is long. When the fetus attains the age of 2 months intrauterine life, the head is in forming stage, face is not formed, eyes, they are still in the dot-like stature, limb starts growing but they are in the bud form, and the length of the upper and lower limbs is almost equal. At the age of 3 months of intrauterine life, the limbs of the fetus, they are increasing in length gradually, but still the upper limbs are shorter than the lower limb length, and the toes, they are separated, but still the fingers, they are attached in the base by the blades. And you have to see the location of the ear in this age. The ear is at the level of angle of mandible. It is not up. The eyes are closed. Both the pupils are attached only by the membrana pupillaris. Sex bud appears by this age, but the remarkable distinguished changes are not seen in the sexual area. By the age of 4th month, some changes starts in the GIT. The gallbladder is formed, so bile can be secreted in the intestine, and the meconium is formed in the duodenum. Convolutions in the brain, they starts forming. Initially, before the age of 4th month, the brain was flat, soft. One thing I would like to make clear about the meconium. Meconium, it is the early stool of the infant. It is dark green in color because it is mixed with the bile, and it is viscous. It composed of the ingested material in the uterine life, and it has the epithelial cells, mucus, amniotic fluid, bile with water. In the 5th month intrauterine life of the fetus, one change seen in the sebaceous gland. The sebaceous glands, they becomes active and they secrete a white waxy substance over the skin that is called as the sebum. The limbs starts growing gradually, and still the upper limbs are slightly shorter than the lower limbs. Now the meconium can be seen up to the large intestine, and by this age the ossification center in the calcaneum bone can also be seen. Now I would like to add a few more things about the sebum. Why God has activated the sebaceous gland in the 5th month age so as to secrete the sebum? We all know that the fetus has to remain in the intrauterine life for the period of 9 months, and it is floating in the fluid that is called as the amniotic fluid. So whenever any fluid is in contact with the skin for a prolonged period, the superficial layer of the skin may be damaged. So to protect the superficial layer of the skin, the God has activated the sebaceous gland to secrete the sebum. So this is the purpose of secretion of the sebum in the intrauterine life. In the 6th month of intrauterine life, the skin of the fetus becomes wrinkled because the subcutaneous fat is very less or negligible, and the body length is increased. Second change is seen in the nails. Nails become thick. Initially they were very thin, but they are not up to the tip of the finger. Eyelids, they are still closed, they are not open. They are attached by the membrana pupillaris. So the color of the skin is also bright red in colors, just like a cinnabar. In the 7th month intrauterine life, you have to look at the pupil, eyelids. Both the eyelids, they are separated, so the eye can now be open. The ear is above the level of the angle of mandible. An important change that occur in the lung is the alveoli, they are formed in the lungs, and they are lined by the flat epithelium. Capillaries, they are also formed in the lungs, so the respiration is now possible by the fetus. That is why this age is considered as the age of viability, that is 210 days. Subcutaneous fat forms in the 7th month age. By the age of 8th month, the testicles, they start descending from the abdomen towards the scrotal sac, and they are at the level of external inguinal ring in the 8th month fetal life. First of all, the right testis is descended. Thereafter, the left testis is descended. The scalp hairs about 1.5 centimeter long, and the child limbs are glowing as per their age. In the full term, 9 month, the weight is attained by 2.25 kg to 3.5 kg. Nails, they are thick and up to the tip of finger. Crown rump length and head circumference. Both, they are equal and they are about 2/3 of the total body length. Now we have to discuss about the stillborn, deadborn and the live-born babies. A stillborn baby is that who is born after the age of viability and does not show the sign of life. That means the death occur in the maternal passage. Stillborn deaths are mostly because of the asphyxia, toxemia of pregnancy, erythroblastosis fetalis, intracranial hemorrhage, which may be due to the excessive molding or congenital defect in the blood vessels or coagulation disorders. Now about the dead-born fetus. Death when occur in the uterus of the fetus, that is called as a dead-born fetus. The dead body shows the presence of either rigor mortis or the maceration or mummification. So, out of all these three, any one you will notice in the body, that is suggesting the fetus is dead-born fetus. One thing you have to remember forever, rigor mortis will not appear if the age of the fetus is less than 7 months intrauterine life. Macerated body develops after 3 to 4 days after death in the uterus. And this occurs whenever there is an entry of the air in the amniotic fluid. The macerated child is soft, flaccid, and when the body is kept over the table, it is flattened out, and the smell is very foul from the body. Blebs or the peeling of the epidermis is also seen along with the discoloration of the skin. Two signs can be noticed in the dead-born fetus, which is macerated body: Spalding sign and the Roberts sign. Spalding sign means the overlapping of the cranial bones. This is due to the shrinkage of the brain. So the size of the brain is reduced, so the cranial bones, they overlap each other. This is called as the Spalding sign. Roberts sign, the presence of the gas in the chamber of the heart and great vessels. This develops after 12 hours of the death. But this sign is very difficult to see, rather it is a theoretical sign. So we should not be emphasized on the Roberts sign. Now the mummification of the body. Mummification of the body occur in special circumstances. When the blood supply to the fetus is deficient, there is no entry of the air in the uterus, and when the liquor amnii is scanty, then only the body is mummified. This is the mummified fetus. Discoloration of the skin is very well seen. Spotting sign is seen, and there is some superficial loss of the epidermis. Peeling of the epidermis is seen. And now we will discuss about the live-born baby. What are the features which we observe to say the baby was born alive? One is the crying. This is a very simple thing. We know when the baby is crying, that means the birth is live. But sometimes the exceptions are there. The baby may cry when the head of the baby is in vagina. This is called as the vagitus vaginalis. And the baby may cry when the head of the baby is in uterus. This is called as vagitus uterinus. Vagitus vaginalis, vagitus uterinus, these two are the short notes in the forensic medicine. If the baby cries in the vagina or in the uterus, this cry is not a sign of the live birth. So we should not consider as a live birth. Now, one thing I would like to discuss with you about the cry. Why the baby cries? Think it. There is some reason. When the fetus is in the intrauterine life, some amniotic fluid is present in the alveoli. Unless this is being expelled out, the respiration would not be possible. So, the baby cries to expel the amniotic fluid present in the alveoli. And some amount of the amniotic fluid is also expelled out when the chest is compressed during the time of delivery. Why the vagitus vaginalis and why the vagitus uterinus occur, there are a few reasons for it. If there is operative manipulation, the baby may cry. If the fetus is feeling the asphyxia, the baby may cry. And if the membranes are ruptured, then the baby may cry in the vagina or in the uterus. So these were the reasons for the crying in the vagina or the uterus. In the longitudinal cut section of the kidney, in the renal pelvis, we may find the yellow-brown crystals. These are of the uric acid. If they are present, in most of the cases, it suggests the live birth. Exceptionally, in the stillborn baby, these crystals may also be seen. As the baby is born alive, there is a respiration. If the baby was born dead, there is no respiration. That means the signs of respiration, they are very important to differentiate the live birth from the stillborn or the dead-born baby. In the respired lung, the lung is pink. It is spongy because it is filled with the air. Crepes are also present in the lungs, and over the surface of the lung, the rib markings are present. The pleura is shiny. The diaphragm is at the level of 6th or 7th intercostal space. Specific gravity of the lung is less than the water, that is 0.94. And overall, the shape of the chest becomes drum-like. In the unrespired lung, the lung is dark in color, dark red in color. It is firm just like the liver. Crepes are absent, and this lung, unrespired lung, is lying on the posterior thoracic wall. The pleura is dull. Diaphragm present in the 3rd or 4th intercostal space. Specific gravity is more than half of water, and it is 1.45. The shape of the chest is flat because the lungs are not inflated. If suppose the baby has born alive, then we have to think about the next point, that how long the baby has survived, you have to examine the umbilical cord and the blood vessels of the umbilical cord very carefully. Umbilical artery closes after 1 to 3 days of the birth. Umbilical vein closes after 4 to 5 days of birth. Ductus arteriosus and ductus venosus, they closes about 7 to 10 days of the birth. Then the overall umbilical cord starts drying, and the drying first takes place from the placental side. In 4 to 5 days after birth, it is completely dried, and then it falls in about a week, and it leaves a ulcer. When it falls, there is formation of a ulcer at the umbilical region, and this ulcer heals in about 2 weeks' time. So we can consider these points and we can assess how long the baby has survived after the live birth. Now we have to think about the cause of death of the newly born infant. Cause of death of the infant may be natural, accidental, or criminal. For the purpose of infanticide, we are more concerned about the criminal cause. But we have to know the natural and accidental causes also to rule out the criminal cause. Natural cause may be prematurity, when the baby is of 7 to 9 months, but the weight is less than 2 kg. Then it is called as the premature baby, and it may cause a natural death. Then malnutrition, anemia, diabetes, toxemia of pregnancy during the time of pregnancy in the mother, they may also cause the natural death. Twins, hydramnios, premature separation of placenta, placental insufficiency, cephalopelvic disproportion, aspiration of mucus because of enlarged thymus gland in the baby, and RH incompatibility, some congenital diseases in the growing fetus, they may cause the natural death. Now we have to consider the accidental causes. Prolonged labor, twisted umbilical cord, injury to the abdomen due to blow on the abdomen or due to fall from the height, this may cause the accidental death. The membrane are covering the head of the baby, so the baby is unable to respire, and this type of the death is called death, C-A-U-L, called death. Look at this picture. The membranes are covering the head, including the other body parts, so the baby could not respire, and it is an example of the accidental death called death. Now, the criminal cause of death may be the act of omission, or it may be the act of commission. Act of omission means the duty of the mother or the family members towards the newly born baby. When a baby is born, it is the duty of the mother to feed the baby on the proper time, in the proper quantity, and to look after the baby to prevent from the hot or cold weather conditions. And the duty of the person who has delivered to ligate the umbilical cord. If anything is missing and causing death of the baby, this will amount to the act of omission. In the act of commission, you are doing something that has resulted into the death of the baby. Say for example, strangulation, throttling, giving some poison, causing injuries resulting into death, gagging, like that. There are so many ways. Most commonly, The poison used for the commission of the offense are arsenic and the morphine. These two are very commonly used. It is very well documented in the literature. Look at this picture. This is the case of gagging. So by act of commission, infanticide was done. A large cloth has been kept inside the oral cavity up to the pharynx. So there was a respiratory arrest and death. And see the nails of this baby. They are deeply bluish, suggesting severe asphyxia. Hydrostatic test and many things are remaining, and they will be covered in the next class.